Good afternoon. Welcome to the 2021 Friday Medal Ceremony at the Friday Institute for Educational Innovation at North Carolina State University. I'm Hiller Spires, Friday Institute Executive Director. I'm delighted that you have chosen to join us. At the Friday Institute, this is one of our favorite times of the year when we get to award the Friday Medal. The Friday Medal honors significant, distinguished, and enduring contributions to education through advocating innovation, advancing education, and imparting inspiration. In recognition of the commitment of Bill and Ida Friday to educational excellence, the award is given annually to those who embody the mission and spirit of the Friday Institute. Here at the FI, we're committed to addressing North Carolina's most pressing educational challenges through research, policy, and practice. We do so with the spirit of innovation, collaboration, and agility. This year, we're delighted to honor Mebane Rash, CEO of EducationNC, with the Friday Medal. We'll hear Mebane's contributions to education as we continue our ceremony. But first, I'm happy to introduce Dr. Paula Stein, the Interim Dean of the College of Education, who will bring a welcome, followed by our Chancellor, Randy Woodson.
Thank you, Hiller. Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you, Hiller, for the introduction. And also thank you, Hiller, for the outstanding leadership you provide to the Friday Institute as its executive director, and for our college as Associate Dean. I also want to acknowledge the incredible Friday Institute fellows, staff, research associates for everything you do to support K-12 educators and students across North Carolina and beyond. It is great to be here this evening to recognize and honor our Friday Medal recipient, Mebane Rash. Mebane, we at the College of Education are grateful for the work you and the entire EducationNC team do to report on critical issues facing education in North Carolina. As a former teacher, an education researcher, and the interim dean of the College of Education, I know from personal experience what EducationNC means to our state. EducationNC provides factual information, offers diverse perspectives, and keep us updated on important issues that affect learners across North Carolina. From the college perspective, you amplify our work. You help us be more impactful and reach broad audiences. So on behalf of the entire College of Education, I want to thank you, Mebane, and the entire EducationNC team for all you do to support and champion the field of education. Equity is the most important and most urgent issue facing our state and the nation right now, and it has always been. This means making sure that all students have opportunities to achieve at their highest levels. Our College of Education and the Friday Institute are working to have a transformative impact in K-12 education and make equity a reality. Our college researchers, including those at the Friday Institute, are among the most active in the nation. This past year, we had our highest number of grants. Am I muted all this time?
No, I think just for the last few
I
sentences.
was gonna say like, whoa, that was something from, whew, okay.
I think you're good now.
All right, well, I don't know where I stopped, but I will tell you this. We graduate and license most STEP educators in the state. Employers rate our beginning teachers as the most effective in the state. And the school leaders we graduate have a remarkable record of improving school climate, accelerating student academic performance, and improving working conditions. The amazing outreach work the Friday Institute is doing also represents our focus on equity. This has been particularly important and true over the past 18 months as schools have faced educational challenges with COVID. The Friday Institute pivoted overnight and provided professional development to teachers, and then formed partnerships with DPI and PBS North Carolina for the at-home learning initiative. It is really awe-inspiring, the work that is happening at the Friday Institute. The Friday Institute plays an important role in helping our college impact the greater good and at an even deeper level. And the Friday Medal is one important way to celebrate and recognize this work. So Mebane, I'm grateful to you and the EducationNC team for all that you continue to do to amplify this important work and deliver quality reporting in the field of education. Congratulations on this well-deserved honor. It is now my pleasure to introduce the Chancellor of NC State University, Dr. Randy Woodson. Thank you.
I can't, oh, there.
There,
I needed
you're there.
somebody to unmute me. You know, as chancellor of the university, a lot of people like to keep me quiet. And with Zoom, they're able to do that by muting me. I'm thrilled to be here this afternoon for three really important reasons. The first is we get to honor the legacy of Bill Friday, a tremendous asset for so many decades for North Carolina, a great friend of myself and NC State University, and just such a strong contributor to everything that we hold dear in North Carolina. The second reason it's great to be here is to honor the Friday Institute. This has been a challenging year in education. The K through 12 system, educators across our state have struggled to keep in touch and educate young people across all of North Carolina. The Friday Institute never closed its doors, never backed away from its mission to serve the people of the state and make sure the resources of the Institute were available to educators as they had to pivot so quickly to digital platforms and help students continue to learn. So that's the second reason I'm really thrilled to be here. And the third is to honor Mebane Rash. You know, at NC State, because we have such a history in data and data analytics, we're very data centric here. We know that if you want to get things done, the things that get done are a result of things being measured. And when I think about Mebane's work and her colleagues, they provide so much quality insight through data to help us all be better educators across the state and to make sure the impact of our work is felt from Murphy to Manio. So I'm really thrilled to be here to honor Mebane with the Friday Medal, and to honor the Institute for all of its work that it continues to do on behalf of the people of North Carolina, and to honor my friend Bill Friday, whose name we celebrate every day on the Institute's door, and the mission of the Institute. So Hillary, thank you so much for inviting me to be part of this today, and I look forward to the program.
Thank you, Chancellor. We appreciate your being here. Now I'd like to recognize a few of our special guests. First of all, Mebane's family, Marcia Sherry, Millie Johnson, and Betty Rash are with us. Mary Ledbetter, Mr. Friday's daughter. Farrell Guillory and Jerry Hancock, who were the co-founders of EducationNC. Ann Goodnight from SAS. Ricky Hurtado, a House representative. Our first Friday medalist from 2006, Ken Branch. 2008 Friday medalist, Don Liu. 4 of our 2017 Friday medalists, Anthony Jackson, Jeff McDarris, Lynn Moody, and Robert Taylor. Thank you all for being here. It's such an honor for us to have you join us in celebrating our most recent awardee. Each year, also at this time, we recognize graduate students who are obtaining their PhDs in the College of Education and who are involved in research at the Friday Institute. This year, we have 3 students to celebrate, each of whom will receive $2,000 to help support their dissertation research. First, Madeline Hinkle. She's a doctoral student in science education. Her advisor is Dr. Eric Wiebe. Madeline has been lead or co-author on 6 conference proceedings and 8 conference presentations. One of her papers, The Relationship of Gender, Experiential, and Psychological Factors to Achievement in Computer Science, was a best paper finalist at a recent computer science education conference. Madeline's dissertation work focuses on the integration of computational thinking and computationally intensive practices in the science classroom. Next, Pamela Huff, who is a doctoral candidate also in science education, and her advisor is Dr. Gail Jones. Pamela's research is investigating science programs in secondary charter schools to document available laboratory and safety equipment, physical facilities, and instructional science practices. She's also documenting charter school science instruction during COVID-19. These studies will shed light on the unique challenges and opportunities of teaching science in charter schools where facilities are often limited or newly constructed. And finally, Juliana Nusma, who is a doctoral student also in science education, and Dr. Gail Jones is also her advisor. Dr. Jones is being very busy these days. Juliana's research is investigating graduate students' experience in a convergent research center. This research will inform researchers and educators about effective strategies to prepare the next generation of scientists who can tackle complex and wicked environmental problems. This research focuses on the experiences of underrepresented students in STEM education. Let's give our 3 awardees and their advisors a round of applause. Thank you. Now we turn to highlighting Mebane Rash, our Friday Medal recipient. When we were creating the Friday Institute over 16 years ago, we often heard Mr. Friday proclaim, "Change is the only constant." One hallmark of a great leader is that they are able to define opportunity in the face of change and daunting challenges. Mebane has done just this as CEO of EducationNC. In just a few short years, EducationNC has become a trusted source of educational news for North Carolinians. During the pandemic, Mebane and her staff traversed North Carolina, visiting schools and communicating with educators to keep our community abreast of what was happening as we grappled with shifts to online teaching and learning, the digital divide, food scarcity, and daily acts of courage on the part of so many. It's often been said that journalism maintains democracy. Mebane's portfolio of education journalism extends this idea. EducationNC compels civic responsibility for the well-being of schools, learners, and educators in our state. When I asked Mebane who she would choose to speak about her accomplishments for North Carolina education, she didn't hesitate. She said, Eric Davis and Donnell Cannon. I'm delighted that both of these gentlemen have agreed to share their thoughts with us this afternoon. Donnell Cannon is the Executive Director of District Transition and Redesign in Edgecombe County Public Schools. Before that, excuse me, he was principal at North Edgecombe High School. Eric Davis is the chair of the North Carolina State Board of Education. Eric has been chair of the state board since September 2018, providing strong leadership, especially during the unprecedented challenges of the pandemic. We're going to hear from Donnell Cannon first. Donnell?
Hi, friends. I am honored to be here to celebrate this moment with our friend, Mebane, someone I love dearly. And I'm excited to share just how she's shown up for our school community throughout the years and just share more of like what she means to me. As you guys know, Mebane carries her gift into every single room, but she also seeks to find the gift in every space that she enters. She has this unique ability to make everyone she meets, and sometimes even the folks that she doesn't meet, just feel really, really big. It's her superpower for sure. And so quickly, I just want to share a quick anecdote about how her superpower has changed me. So I met Mebane on a school visit to KIPP. It was just days before I was set to begin a new role. So we're in this room, right? And I'm with my new boss, a bunch of new colleagues, and this woman who's just incredibly kind with the biggest smile. So we're at one of the highest performing schools in the state, and I'm set to become the principal at one of the lowest performing schools in the state. It's pressure, right? So the woman with the big old smile, she comes up to me, and somehow she just knows who I am. So I had never met Mebane before. I didn't understand like what she did. You know, like I'm young. I don't get all the pieces of the education system yet. So I'm still thinking these like in these system binaries, like is she this, is she that? Is she a teacher? Is she a principal? Is she a superintendent? Or whatever, right? So she's like, you're Donnell, right? She then starts to tell me just like how great I am. So she's filling me up with all of these affirmations. So again, at this point, I still don't know who this amazingly, oddly kind woman is. So she's loving all the babies we pass in the hallways. She's giving them the moment, like making every baby feel really big. So she's taking pictures, and she's, you can just tell that every child that she walks past just feels really special, like having her there. So meanwhile, I'm walking through the halls. I'm terrified. Mebane doesn't know this, right? Like I'm set to begin this new role. I am scared. So forget that. So like beyond that, how do I even convince this community that I'm about to join that I'm actually capable of being a high school principal and I'm not a high school student and that I could actually be a good leader? So I'm like completely nervous. I'm scared. I'm like nearly despondent. And so like many others, I'm still shocked like about entering as a high school leader, right? High school principal. So I accepted the position with just much ambivalence. And I had little faith in my ability at the time to kind of deliver in this role. And just had little faith in my ability at the time to just do really big things for children. So Mebane just made me feel big in ways that she probably did not notice. Because like that's Mebane. She doesn't take moments for granted, whether those moments are big or whether they're small. So each one of those moments just matters to her. Like she doesn't really know like what the moment would germinate, but she just like stands consciously in it in a way that I absolutely admire. So that day, and probably before I walked into the room, Mebane had this like critical optimism for who I could be for children. And she named parts of me that I did not recognize at the time. So from that small moment, Mebane has mattered to me and has been a human I've come to love and I've developed a deep connection with. So she is one of the reasons that I've been able to do the small bit that I have for children, because she just gave me belief. She's given me confidence, and she's held my hand, and she has not let go since. So again, I did not know at the time like who she really was, right? So back to the story. So I just knew that she was a special human on this journey. And before I left, and Mebane, you probably remember this vividly, I asked you, I said, like, could you pray for me? And I was like, I was really serious because I was completely terrified. And so shortly after that day, I received an email from Mebane, and the email read, I hope our paths cross often. So after reading the email, I read an article that was written by Mebane. Maybe Mebane sent it to me, or maybe I received it from a colleague. And it read, I met Donnell. He asked me to pray for him. Even without my prayers, there's just no doubt in my mind that his leadership will change the trajectory of his students and his school. So Mebane made me feel big on the day of the school visit, and she's just made me feel big every day since. I printed that article and I hung it up in my empty office, and I just printed those words just as affirmation on the days that I felt really, really small. So I told y'all, right, like that's her superpower. She makes people feel big and she makes people feel powerful. And 6 years later, our paths didn't just cross as she wrote in her email, our paths have become merged. We've essentially walked the same path, like with radical courage and optimism about what schools can be for our children. So earlier this week, I received this quote from one of my special friends that just reminded me of Mebane. And the quote reads, like, hope begets hope. Practicing hope and courage on a daily basis might help me arrive at that better place. Perhaps when we try on hope for size, it may not fit at first. It may hang on at several sizes too big. But if we keep wearing it, we feel into it. And I've arrived, like Mebane, you try on hope each day. And I love that about you. And I've arrived at a better place because of you. And I hold a subversive hope because of the way you've shown up in my life and in the lives of the babies across North Carolina. So again, Mebane, you wear hope each day, and you continue to invite all of us to do the same. You hold that critical hope for what schools and communities can become, and you hold a critical hope for what they need to become to get our students to the futures that they imagine for themselves, the futures that they deserve. So Mebane, your unrelenting optimism and that subversive hope has pushed our entire North Carolina education ecosystem a bit closer to delivering better for children. And more specifically, much of what we've been able to accomplish in Edgecombe has come by way of our critical connection to you as our friend. Her hope has pushed us closer to futures reimagined for all of our children in Edgecombe County. And there's times I've called Mebane with a really big idea, and Mebane just pushes me to go bigger. I'm always like, wait, I thought that was already a big idea, you know? So I also think that my ideas are a bit too big, and Mebane would call me with an idea that's like bigger and even crazier. And so 2 years into my principalship, I remember calling Mebane about our micro school design. And I'm pretty ambitious about this, right? So I'm like, hey, Mebane, we're gonna redesign the entire education ecosystem in North Carolina, but we're gonna start with 30 children, right? Like just going big, and I'm dreaming big. And if you know Mebane, then you know exactly how she responded, right? She's like, how can I help? And I thought at the moment, I thought that she was, gonna just give us like some fodder for thought, give us a few ideas, maybe point us to a few demonstration sites. No. And there are a few folks on the call who can attest to this. One, she was like our biggest cheerleader and still is today. And Mebane just rolled up her sleeves. She gathered all of her folks in Ed&T, and they came to Edgecombe to build for an entire year. Not just like writing articles. I'm talking about just gave herself over to the work. Like writing grants, creating documentaries, connected us with IBM, who created just a learning management system for our children. Like our children had a chance to work alongside and learn alongside of the biggest IBM engineers. You're talking about life-changing. That gave our children the chance to dream big about like who they actually could be. And she did not do that to be self-serving, but she did that because it was in line with her purpose. It was what she knew we needed to be up to for children across our state. And this lady plays it big for children every single time and is willing to run into the fire. She's willing to run through the fire to get children nothing less than what they deserve. Because she knows that our children, they can't afford small. And our children don't deserve small. And our system has delivered small for far too long, especially for our communities that have been forced into the margins. And Mebane holds this deep understanding that our caring approach to school is not yet realizing the bold aspirations that many of our children have for themselves. And in the face of that tension, she just continues to choose curiosity. She chooses learning. She continues to use her gifts and her genius to just do something. And she continues to choose hope. And one thing I love the most about Mebane is that she engages everybody. And she lives in the fullness of her humanity. So no matter like where they are, the role they play, the political affiliations, she engages everybody because she knows that matters for our 1.5 million children in our state. And that's what it takes to get us to better. And in the last few years, we have seen public discourse get heated and challenging beyond what any of us had ever expected on a number of fronts. And she has not like given up hope and continues to beat the drum for children. And sometimes that's out loud, and sometimes that's in the shadows. And Mebane, like we are a better school district because of you. We are a better community because of you. I'm a better leader because of you. And we all on this call, we're better people because of the way you've shown up in our lives. So thank you for practicing the future today. Thank you for practicing equity today. And thank you for being the person we did not know we needed in our lives. And Octavia Butler said, all that you touch, you change, and all that you change changes you. And that's Mebane. So I love you and thank you for having me here.
Thank you, Donnell, for that very special tribute. We appreciate your words. That was a lot to take in, Mebane. Next up, we have Chair Eric Davis.
Can you hear me okay?
We can.
Okay. Well, thanks. Boy, Donnell, you're a tough act to follow, my man. But you speak truth. You know, we have so many things to be thankful for, and one that I'll always be grateful for occurred a few years ago when I was invited to a dinner where I met the incomparable Mebane Rash. And you know, I've cherished that introduction every day since. For Mebane is a homegrown North Carolinian, a graduate of East Mecklenburg High School, home of the Eagles, who despite their relatively small size have provided our state an inordinate number of leaders and public servants. And Mebane is certainly first in that class. Similarly, Mebane comes from a family of groundbreaking, selfless servant leaders dedicated to increasing opportunity and access for all North Carolinians. And she's continued the family tradition, not for personal gain, but in devotion to others. And so there's no one more fitting to receive the Friday Medal, which honors contributions to education through advocating innovation, advancing education, and imparting inspiration than Mebane Rash, especially in these challenging times. For while too frequently we're deluged with misinformation, Mebane and her EdNC team stand tall, like one of the lighthouses that grace our state shores, shining as a tenfold beacon in the night, lighting the way to greater understanding and collaboration. Every day, they do the hard work under Mebane's watchful eye of first listening and then researching and checking the facts to bring clarity and understanding to complex issues, enabling all of us to better listen to each other and to elevate our public civil discourse to building each other up and solving the challenges together for our collective benefit. Moreover, in times of heated division, Mebane leads with a calming, unifying spirit, reminding us of what we've already overcome and achieved together, that we're at our best when we work together, treating one another as we want to be treated ourselves. Mebane is a role model for our students and all of us in personifying that rare combination of personal humility and professional will, determined to make North Carolina a better place for our children and for generations to come. In short, Mebane leads with equal parts courage and compassion. So on behalf of my colleagues on the state board and the 1.5 million public school students we serve, and their families and their educators, thank you, Mebane, for being the education leader we need in North Carolina. I'm delighted to join each of you in celebrating my good friend, Mebane Rash.
Thank you, Chair Davis. We appreciate your words and your support. Well, next up, we're going to hear from the woman of the hour, Mebane Rash.
Thanks, y'all. That was a lot. It's a real medal, actually, it turns out. Who knew? Friday Medal this year is about each of you and all of you, as I think Bill and Ida would want it to be. And important for me that this is Ida too. They both meant the world to me. Thank you to their daughter, Mary, for joining us today. Collectively, you breathed life into the architecture of participation that Nation imagined. He's with me here, right over here. For EducationNC to tell the stories of your commitment to our students, our state, and our future. You've heard me say I'm in the business of hope, and Donnell, we are merged, and that was a great, perfect poem. But only a few of you know why that word is so important to me. In college, I worked at a shelter for battered women. And one night when my 20-year-old self was on call, a young woman gave birth to a baby who was born black and blue. The father had punched the mom's pregnant belly over and over, leaving the baby bruised. The mom named that baby Hope. And so when you hear Donnell talking about me greeting the babies in the hallways, every day I tell myself, if that mom can choose hope day in and day out, and if Nation can too, then so can all of us. It is our privilege to do this work in your schools and communities across this state we love fiercely, and to watch hope bubble up from inside of you on all the days. Even given the political hot mess we sometimes find ourselves in, with funding, without funding, during hurricanes, during floods, and even during a pandemic. In 6th grade, I was invited to write a column for the Charlotte Observer called Kid to Kid. And watching Rolf Neal, then the publisher, I learned how to love community, how to show affection and understanding for community, and that no one leader or one organization can create the change we need. When we launched EducationNC, Rolf sent me a note giving me a practical way to think about collective change making. Numbers are one measure, but what's the best measure of our work, all of us? What are we failing at? Where are we making a difference, and how do we know? And maybe the most important, are we having fun yet? Recently, Rolf asked me to read a book called The Weight of Ink, and it offers a more spiritual way to think about hope in our work. My friends, I urge you, do not succumb to darkness. Lack of hope, as I learned long ago, is a deadly affliction. And in one so highly regarded as you, it is not merely a blight on one precious soul, but a contagion that may leave many in darkness. Recall that the light you bear, though it may flicker, yet illuminates the path for our people. Bear it, for in this world there is no alternative. I believe it is hope that drives our collective work. A huge shout out to Hiller and the incredible team at the Friday Institute. Our collective work to transform our education system so every student receives a sound basic education. Every student learns to read. A system with enough elasticity to truly embrace diversity, equity, inclusion, and belonging. A system where housing and nutrition and health and mental health don't feel beyond our reach for every student. So more and more of us have access to a degree or credential that provides a family-sustaining wage, paving the way for North Carolina to be a state people will want to call home. Fear is not and never will be a sustainable driver of change. On a personal note, our colleague MC Belt Pylon is receiving the IE Ready Award tonight. It's the highest honor of our community college system. For those of you who knew us as girls back in the day in Charlotte, or who know the girls our dads allowed us to be even as grown-ups, like the Fridays, I think the dads would be proud tonight. As her dad said, the more you do for mankind, the better you will like life. A special thank you to Alex Granados, who's been with me and EducationNC since the beginning. Daily, he sets the bar for the rest of us. And a special thank you to my boys for your love and support, for the candles and music and family dinners that mark our time together. On behalf of Jerry and Farrell, the board, the Strategic Council, Nation, and all of us at EducationNC, thank you for your ongoing commitment to our students and our state and our future.
Thank you, Mebane. You know, this is the moment that if we were in person, we would present Mebane with the Friday medal, but she did stop by last week and picked up the medal. So Mebane, would you indulge us one more time and show your medal to everyone? Great. Let's give Mebane one more round of applause. As we near the end of our ceremony, Dr. Jose Picard is going to share a fitting poem. The poem is called Change the World by Wayne Visser.
Let's change the world. Let's shift it. Let's shake it and remake it. Let's rearrange the pieces, the patterns in the maze, the reason for our days, in ways that make it better, in shades that make it brighter, that make the burden lighter. Because it's shared, because we dared to dream, and then to sweat it, to make our mark and not regret it. Let's plant a seed and humbly say I changed the world today. Let's change the world. Let's love it. Let's hold it and unfold it. Let's redesign the future, the fate of the earth and sky, the existential why. Let's fly to where there's hope, to where the world is greener, where air and water's cleaner, because it's smart to make a start, to fix what we have broken, our children's wish unspoken. So let us be the ones who rise and say, we changed the world today.
Thank you, Jose. You did a great job of reading a poem that is most appropriate for this occasion.
Absolutely.
Some people wait for the world to change. Mebane is not one of those people. Mebane, as a Friday medalist, you have joined the ranks of an outstanding group of innovative educators. We appreciate your dedication to education, your call to speak truth to power, and your boundless energy and vision for imagining schools that work for each and every child. Thank you to everyone who has joined us today to celebrate Mebane Rash and to celebrate North Carolina education. Everyone, please take care of yourself and each other.